All right. You guys want to hear about the trip?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I went out there. First handful of days, went to the Canton Fair, which Armand, you've been to, right?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, you've been to the Canton Fair. So
It's
for people who
so
don't know,
wild.
it's kind of the world's largest trading convention. So there's probably about 250,000 people that show up to this, and there's 3 weeks. And in a given every week, they rotate all the vendors, I guess, with their trade show booths. And over 3 days, we walked well over 20 miles, and we didn't cover a third of it. So it's that massive. It's hard to explain to you how
Basically, like every product that's sold on planet Earth.
exactly. I almost took a series of photos for you guys just to show the breadth of everything, like a pencil to a tractor.
And how many booths there are for pencils?
For pencils, there's be
That's it.
17 pencil manufacturers.
Yeah.
And then the equipment to make both of those, the tractor and the pencil, that's there too. And then every raw material that goes into the pencil and the tractor and the machines that make it is there too. Like every chemical, every metal, every...
So were you on the hunt for new?
Yeah,
you have
originally
existing relationships.
we just were...
You just do it.
I mean, before April 2nd, we were there just to kind of I never been. I kind of wanted to see what it was like and see if we could find some new products to sell. But now we were looking for existing suppliers of our current products.
Okay.
Anyway, there's every country is represented there. Well over 200 countries. Every flavor of body odor is there. I mean, you are packed amongst 250,000 people from every country around the world. So, also, I didn't notice very Americans.
It is really fascinating how different body odor is from country to country.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of got
you can go from sauerkraut to
you got
onion,
30 flavors of African.
It's all what you eat,
right? And then different parts of India have different scents, and then the Middle Eastern guys, whole different.
Mm-hmm.
Eastern Europeans, yeah.
Oops.
It's fucking up the focus.
My apologies. Thank you for your awareness and your patronage.
So anyway, beyond the body odor, there wasn't very.
Wait, how did that happen?
There wasn't very many Americans there though, and apparently it's been happening year after year. Less and less Americans. I found out the Chinese government has been paying kind of each country to send over 100 businessmen.
We're astroturfing?
To diversify their trade for the last so many years. They've been planning for pain, my friend, which is the leading up to the big conclusion of this trip. Yeah.
So you think we're fucked?
Wall Street Journal, Eric Johansson.
Yeah. Please, sir.
Favorite part of the trip? Least favorite part of the trip?
Least favorite part of the trip, drinking baijiu. Confirmed.
So you just had to have other people.
I just needed you to experience
You
the
really
pain.
just did. It was worth $275 to him to get that sound to come out of your body, Steve.
And now it's on recording. It's
I don't
beautiful.
know what this is made out of.
You've been immortalized.
It's
I told you, rancid black licorice and rat poop.
it's lighter fluid.
It's lighter fluid. Yeah.
No,
this is how they
lighter
used to make
fluid would be an
alcohol.
improvement.
This is what did they call that? Everclear?
Oh yeah.
This is Everclear with licorice in it.
Yeah. Best part of the trip was one of the factory owners before we were meeting, they said, "Hey, come out to dinner with us." And the driver picked us up. We showed up at their house. The house was enormous. Had an elevator in it. And I love just
Are Chinese houses different?
This one was.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
One
one.
of your manufacturers?
Yeah, it was the owner, and they had us over to their house for dinner, and there's staff, which you'd love.
I love
You would have loved it. There was people in there cooking. There was a driver, the security guard, the person cleaning, and I love the ceremony of it all. You get up, first thing you do, you sit down at the tea table, massive tea table, and even the drinking tea has a little ceremony to it, right? You heat the water.
Is there a main, a Jeffrey? Zanzibar?
Yeah, no, but they were kind of out on the side. The boss, the Laoban was coordinating the ceremony. It was a brother and sister that own the company together, and they have houses right next to each other. Same house. So you do the tea, you do the big lazy Susan dinner, and then afterwards they had a karaoke room inside their house.
Nice.
So that was my favorite part, watching everyone just do karaoke inside the karaoke room, which was lined with these wine bottles, just lined of like
Which are like thousands of dollars.
thousands and thousands of dollars for they told me that
Does
when
anyone actually enjoy them?
oh, they love it.
They love
They
it.
like procure it. They love to like different years. So they told me that if you're a Chinese father and you have a daughter, one of the things you do is you might take like 500 or 200 bottles of wine and bury them under your house. And then when it's time for your daughter to marry, you dig them back up, and that's like your gift to the party is like 200 bottles of 20 aged.
Why can't you just put it in
Baijiu.
the closet?
You could, but it just sounds cooler. Story sounds cooler. I didn't push them on.
Might
it.
have something to do with preservation.
Dude, people complain about like wealth
Temperature.
and quality in America, but like, we're all the servants. No servants here.
Yeah.
Where's this opulence?
I even talked to a few other factory owners, and they were like, I was so wealthy in Shanghai. Like, I had staff, I had a house. I literally didn't have to look at my bank account. And then I moved to like a suburb in Los Angeles, and I'm spending like $25,000 a month just to like do my normal things. And they had 3 kids, and they're
25K a month has become the
cheap.
right for 3 kids in LA.
yeah, for 3 kids. Oh, that's like a close to getting by.
Bro, you can't,
They're on a budget.
You can't afford a mortgage in LA.
They bought like a
Pre-tax.
$2.5
your
million
mortgage-
home
your
just to
mortgage
fit
alone, 15K.
easy.
That's like 25K post tax just pays that mortgage.
Right.
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 Right. So anyway, they were very very well. They felt very wealthy in Shanghai.
I bet.
I bet.
Some of the other favorite parts of the trip were just like seeing the skylines. I mean, there are so many cities in China that are way bigger than New York. I mean, and way better
Did you
skylines
go to
too.
Shanghai?
Yeah. I went to
Nice. You like
Shanghai, went to Suzhou.
What was your favorite city?
I never been to Guangzhou for the
Yeah,
fair.
I loved Guangzhou.
Guangzhou was cool.
It's cool.
Like
More than Shanghai? I haven't been to Shanghai.
I don't know. It was different. I mean, I didn't really like go out. Like it was just meetings and
Yeah. My buddy that I introduced you to, Keon, he posted this picture of Shanghai, and it was just like, oh my God. Like we talked about beautiful architecture and, modernity, like, keeping things alive and beautiful last episode. And to me, Shanghai looked like a very cool city, but I haven't been there. But
yeah, but I mean, like JD Vance saying, "Oh, these people, these peasants are making our stuff." Like, and I feel like he hasn't actually been there because you show up to a major city and you're like, kind of feel like you're part of the future. Everything is just enormous and it looks great. It's super safe. You have to obey. That was the word of the trip. Obey. Every time you see, the government, anything, and all the cameras, it just obey.
yeah,
You
I
obey.
was going to ask if you can feel the authoritarianism.
Obey.
I think you just
Obey, Stephen.
it's very interesting because what you have with China that I think a lot of people don't consider is their ability to evolve occurs much more rapidly because they have a unified system, a communist system. And so without the polarity that exists in like a bi-party system that we have in America, things progress and iterate a lot more rapidly. So a lot of people assume that China has just been like the same, but it's actually completely the opposite. They're living in their own world. It's this Eastern society reality, but they're also completely in charge of their own destiny, and they're able to iterate as a country much more rapidly than the United States or any Western country is that is democratic. And this is a great take that my buddy sent me from a really great Chinese economist who explained it way more eloquently than I did. And he's absolutely right. Like their ability to have evolved over the last 50 years is far beyond our ability because there's collaboration and unity and a cohesiveness as this one system. Now you would argue like that comes with a cost. Of course it comes with a cost.
Yep.
But as a country, they're able to do things that we just simply cannot do.
Yeah, everyone's friendly and it's incredibly efficient there. Everything is efficient, like from public transportation to like if you need something, like everything's within an hour of your grasp,
There's
and
like
they
an
don't
app
just
for it.
deliver it to your home. Like,
Were you WeChatting a lot?
yeah, but the version I have doesn't let me use like all the functions of WeChat because I'm not from
Yeah.
from China. So, I mean, from paying with your palm print to just like parking. You don't need a ticket. You don't need to like put in a credit card. You just like drive in. It detects your license plate. You drive out, detects your license plate. You just WeChat the QR code, and like in half a second, you're out of there. Like little things like that. And no matter where you are, you're on a corner of a street, you're in a restaurant, you can get anything delivered to you. My business partner might have needed several stomach medications from all the food that were expedited to the restaurant. But I got some notes
Did you
here.
get any drone delivery?
No, we didn't get any drone delivery, although we did try. All right, so tariff perspective. I visited several factories. I maybe talked to like 30, 40 factory owners. And then we particularly met with like 4 major logistics companies because I figure they understand the tariffs the most than even the factories. All of them seem to be ready for 3 years of pain. They are fully convinced that there's no way their government is going to give in even an inch. They think that it's going to last until either two things: Trump is out of office or the midterms. And they're very aware of like the American democratic voting cycles. So they know the midterms are up. They're kind of confused why Americans want to bring factory jobs back instead of keep the white collar jobs they have. I mean, some of them were even aware that United States unemployment is lower than China's. They're like, you have like a, an all grown up economy. Why would you want to? And they were sharing the memes that we saw of all the Americans, on the production line. Yeah.
Nikes,
Oh yeah.
MAGA hats.
Yeah. They were very aware of those and they were enjoying them very much. Almost 100% of all the U.S. orders were canceled. I'm talking
100%.
almost 100%.
Oh, wow.
So, one guy was talking about how when they first enacted the 20-25% tariffs, he flew out to his biggest U.S. client, to America, and he said they negotiated for hours. Finally decided, okay, I'll take 15% of the cut. The American company was going to take 10% of the cut. Cool. Shake hands. He flies back to China. By the time he lands, it's like already escalated, and he said it was pretty tough. The freight that's moving from China to the U.S. is already down 70%. That was as of 2 weeks ago. So we're talking about a massive amount of goods. The port volumes in China were like empty. So you're talking about the biggest ports like Ningbo, Yantian, Shenzhen ports, which are usually packed, were kind of like ghost townish.
So do we have this like COVID event coming up in like 2 to 6 weeks?
No, I mean, I think starting probably if you get a container from say like Shanghai to Long Beach, it can take as fast as 2 weeks.
Okay.
So you're going to start seeing probably next week port volumes down by like 30-40%. You got to assume that the China shipments are about 60% of like the Long Beach volumes, and then 60-70% of those are gone. So that means that the ports are empty, which means the truck drivers aren't going to have any containers to drive, which means the stores shelves will be empty.
So you think there's like legit going to be like empty store shelves?
Yeah. What makes you?
Are you stocking up on stuff?
I'm not stocking up on stuff, but
Alan would like you to speak into your microphone, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. Alan.
Pull it. Just pull it up.
Pull it over.
Pull it over. Pull it over. There you go.
There we go.
Get it closer to you.
yeah, I
How's
mean,
that work?
stores empty
You can
for
move it,
sure.
Move
I'd
it.
rather just do this.
You look good. You look good from my
I
perspective.
feel like Quagmire.
Yeah. Chat wants to know if there's any robots replacing human workers.
Oh yeah,
yet.
there was robots. I mean, the first videos I took in China were of all the different robots. There was like a whole robot section at.
Liv asked that. He says Rite Aid shelves are already empty.
Oh yeah, I'm telling you, it's for sure coming. Like even if today, as we taping this podcast, Trump said, okay, 0% tariffs, you're still going to have 3 to 4 weeks of. I mean, you might have not empty shelves, but like for us, we typically target on an average SKU like 3 months worth of inventory. On some of our best-selling SKUs more, and some of our kind of ones we're not sure about less.
Yeah.
So you kind of have some in the gun, but I think like in July, when parents are kind of coming back to school, buying clothes, buying school supplies, toys, whatever it is, like, yeah, those won't be as available.
So you have your business hat on. Can you put your consumer hat on? How would this impact you as a person? How would you play it? What would you recommend?
Yeah, I mean, stock up on toilet paper and stuff like that.
Really?
No, I'm saying I don't
Get
know
a
if I.
bidet for the love
Are
of
we
God.
really going to fight
No, I
over
don't-
toilet paper
I don't.
again?
I don't think it's going to come to that.
Is
But-
Charmin
yeah, because I've seen people
manufactured
say that, like
Why
stock
not?
up on goods.
Why not though?
I don't know if we're necessarily dependent on China for like toilet paper and paper towels.
Where do we make toilet paper?
I don't even
there?
know.
I don't know.
Who makes toilet paper?
Where
not
does
in
my
China?
Charmin come
But
from?
you can like import like wood pulp, you know, and from different countries other than
Sure,
China.
but how long does it take to manufacture that?
Listen, I don't think that's what you need to be worried about. You need to be worried about that every country, every company, even if they manufacture in the US, takes in raw materials from China to manufacture that good. So
Yeah.
as that stuff goes away, they can't produce as much. And what I'm worried about more is that they're just going to have lower revenues, right? Because if you don't have the goods to sell, you have lower revenues. And what do you do when you have lower revenues?
Hold on. You just put
You-
your business hat back on.
You lay off people. And so as a consumer,
There we go.
the biggest thing we're worried about is like job security, like, and how does that impact like you, even if your job's not online, how does the impact of like consumers if unemployment rate ticks up? So
Okay.
that's what I'm thinking about. Let's see what else here.
Hmm.
But most of these factory owners are kind of like, this sucks, but like we'll figure it out. They're like, yeah, I hired 4 salespeople to go after Europe, Russia, Africa, Southeast Asia. A lot of them are pivoting even to domestic China as their.
Wait, have they come around to this idea that this isn't about reshoring stuff into the U.S.? It's just about like forcing people to stop trading with China altogether.
That's not really like what they're thinking about. You know, they're not thinking
Right,
about
but
like.
I feel like that is actually the play that's happening.
It sounds like they're approaching it completely differently. They're being proactive about going to the rest of the world to open up more trade.
Yeah, I mean, they were actively like.
They have to be, but like
They have to be, yeah.
there's like still this mistaken notion, I think, that the purpose of all of this is to like get good deals or like reshore manufacturing, whereas like I think the true purpose is actually just to like cut China off at the knees.
But I think they won't care even if it happens for 4+ years. I don't think they're going to be like, oh, you hurt our economy.
I
We'll
mean, they're
give you
going to run
everything.
up into the like economic realities, though, right?
No, I mean, like the factory owners, they said that the local governments came around, did like an investigation / survey, and tried to understand like the
I mean, it
impacts.
might not be 4 years, though. It could be much longer. Like, there's a regime here that is currently in charge of America, and this new MAGA
They're
could, like,
very
continue.
aware that like the U.S. decision-making power is subject to democracy and voting and the stock market and the bond market.
Yeah.
And they're just not subject to like similar forces that have, you know.
This sounds like Chinese complacency.
No, I mean they're moving. They're developing factories in Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia. I talked with another factory owner. He's like, "You're not going to believe the conversation I just had." He said, "You see those guys that just left the table?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "They're from Laos. They just tried to convince me to build a factory in Laos, and their bargaining chip was that I have 500 armed men to protect you, and we have a river which can create cheap electricity." And he's just like, you know, countries are coming to them like, hey, you guys know you're manufacturing. Why don't you come and build factories in our country? Like one factory I talked to is building a factory in Egypt. And they're like, it's equal, you know, good distance to Europe, to Africa. We can get to America from there. Cheaper labor than
What
even
do you
China.
think the next play is then? Like, if our goal is to weaken China, and then China ends up just basically building like satellite factories all over the world and kind of like funneling all the money back to China anyway, like, what do we do?
They will. I mean, now Vietnam, Malaysia, Indonesia, they may not necessarily want that money to get funneled back. So they could, you know, restrict the money. Vietnam is already kind of known for not wanting that. They don't really like Chinese. So there's, I don't know, they had some kind of phrase they were talking about, but some of the Chinese owners were worried that like basically there's hate against them in Vietnam. But they'll set up there. They'll put the money in. The money will flow back to China at some point.
Can you think of a reason I shouldn't be insanely bullish on like Mexico?
I talked to 3 different factory owners about setting up in Mexico, and they're just like, "Are you kidding me? It's way too dangerous." Like they had one of them was telling me a story of a friend who set up a factory, and his like manager of the factory just got shot, and it's just too dangerous. The cartels run it. It's too corrupt.
Interesting.
The one thing they said, it's not my opinion, they believe that all the hardworking Mexicans moved to the United States and that the labor force left in Mexico is lazy, according to the Chinese factory owners. And I was like, huh.
It's a very blunt thing to say.
Okay. So yeah, they're not necessarily keen on it.
I mean, the peso is mooning right
Yeah.
now versus the dollar. The
Yeah.
market seems to be, because it does make sense to me. We would want to move more of this stuff, not necessarily into the U.S., but into the sphere of influence of the U.S. and like
Friendshoring, right?
friendshoring.
Yeah.
Basically, like take out the cartels and then make Mexico basically like South Puerto Rico.
That would be smart.
Make Canada North Puerto Rico. Yeah, dude, Canada, they
Arctic Mexico.
dude, they elected was it Carney?
Yeah.
Guy had a 30-point lead and just
I mean, I don't know. Like the thing I got away from there is that, you've heard of the phrase like losing face. It is so powerful there. Like they will not lose face to this, like
No way.
what they think
It's
is
ingrained.
bullying,
It's been ingrained for hundreds of years.
to the point where
Thousands
like
of
even
years.
if they all lose everything,
Yeah.
it's just ingrained in them. But they're moving. They're doing things. They're moving factories in other countries. I mean, that's what we worked on with most of our suppliers. It was like the number one order of business is like, and what we're trying to do is even help invest in their factories in these other countries. Like, hey, we'll help you pay for the equipment. We'll invest. You give our products at cost. Then you're set up. You have a customer that's already up and going in this factory that can do large volumes. And you just can't give it to our competitors. If our competitors ask to go the tariff less route, you can't give it to them. And so we have one such deal that we like signed there for like exclusivity to this, supply chain outside of China, and they're not going to give it to our competitors. So yeah, I mean, you kind of got to do these things when everything's up in the air. It's funny. The other thing that we're doing too is we're just starting to market to everywhere outside the US, where we typically were like 90% US. We're marketing more to Canada, Australia, UK, New Zealand, Germany, every other country, and our inventory never has to touch the United States. So I can put it in warehouses in Canada, in China, in the UK, and just kind of do the business as I've always done it. Maybe not as high volume, and it's a little tougher to manage all the different logistics and languages and whatnot. But I mean, that's a lot easier to deal with than stomaching 145% tariffs.
Mm-hmm.
There were also a huge amount of tariff scams popping up. Like we were walking on the floor, and some like you look like a 15-year-old kid just pops up to me and goes, "American?" And I'm like, "Hey, what's up, man?" He's like, "You want to get out of tariffs?" And in very broken English. Like he probably practiced this pitch and that's all he knew in English. And I was like, "Why? What do you got?" And then he used his translator app to explain to me the most wild scheme ever.
do like a consulting deal or something.
No, what they were basically doing is like, a Chinese entity can set up US entities in the US. So they would set up 80 to 100 entities, put that entity as the bond of the shipper in there, and then basically play a whack-a-mole where they split up your goods along 80 shipments, and you're like, they try to turn you into drug cartel where maybe 1 out of 20 gets caught. But that wasn't the scam. The scam was that they're promising that, and they're essentially taking your money and your goods and never shipping it in the first place. And there's probably these like American companies being like, "Yeah, please, if you can get me out of tariffs, I'll do anything." And they're just, "Sure, ship your goods here, send me money," and not shipping it. So
Yeah.
I had our Chinese. We have a team in China, so I had them call him, and I was like, I want to hear the conversation, and it totally didn't make any sense. And then we called the company he said he was working for. He didn't work there, and we're like, oh my god, they're popping up everywhere.
I bet.
Yeah. So anyway, that was the report from on the ground.